Okay. Didn't want to have to do this, but here we are. The second Joseph Buries video on Phil CM Punk Brooks. So, unless you've been living under a rock over the last week, or if you don't watch any wrestling, or if you don't follow any stuff outside the TV shows. So, last Sunday, AEW had its... A lot of people are saying, oh, that's its WrestleMania All Out, which is, the same kind of time frame as All In. So it's been having All Out ever since September 2019. So that's pretty much its biggest pay-per-view event. And... There we go. And its main event had CM Punk, or Phil Brooks, whatever. I'm just going to call him Punk, probably. Against John Moxley for the AEW title. Punk had just come back from a foot injury, just come back from having some surgery on that, and he won the title. And afterwards, after every pay-per-view, All Elite Wrestling likes to have a little a post-show kind of press conference thing, very similar to what WWE used to do with Raw Talk and Talking Smack, where they just let performers go on and do shoot-ish interviews, but you could tell most of the time it's kayfabe. Only time beyond this, aside from this, the only time it wasn't kayfabe, or where it was blurred the line between kayfabe and not kayfabe, was when in Talking Smack, when The Miz came out and got it at Bryan Danielson for retiring early. I'm actually going to do a remembrance on that because, I think that happened earlier. I think that happened in September of 16, so it'd be a good time to do it. So that was the only time. Otherwise, those kinds of shows, I know they're kayfabed up, so I don't care. This, what Punk said at the media scrum was not kayfabe. And a lot of fans are saying, oh yeah, no, it's going to be work. It's going to be they're trying to do a program between him and Kenny Omega and the Bucks and everything like that. No. And the reason why I wanted to wait about a week after everything took place was to see if that was right, or if it wasn't right. And turns out that it was not kayfabe at all. It was not part of a storyline. It was not part of anything. It was Phil Brooks being very incendiary towards his colleagues. A lot of them, not just Matt and Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega. I don't even know Kenny Omega's real name, but whatever. Not just those three who are AEW's, who were their executive vice presidents. Not just them. Adam Page, Hangman Page. He was even talking about MJF, about how MJF had no right to do what he did 3 months ago, and that kind of stuff. Even John Moxley is John Moxley's a really good performer, good guy. I have maybe a couple good things to say about him, but even still, he was acting extremely out of line during that press conference, and he paid for it. He was stripped of the title after Punk got injured again, his tricep this time, so now he's out for even longer on the disabled list, and I'm pretty sure he's just going to retire after that. He's just going to sit out his contract and probably just retire. That's what he should do. I'll get to that. And Omega and the Bucks, they won the Trios title, which I think is kind of dumb. I don't really understood the idea of a Trios title, but whatever. It's AEW doing weird AEW things. All three of them got suspended as well. So this is real life, and what Punk needs to Punk is going to live to regret September 4th, 2022. He's what, 44? So as a 44-year-old performer who has been performing in wrestling for over 20 years, he should have known better. And that's why I'm burying him here, okay? The last j0elsuf Buries, and by the way, when I mean Buries, I mean bury. I mean like, we ain't talking about them ever again. I'm not talking about anyone who you see on my j0elsuf Buries series are performers in wrestling who I'm never going to mention ever again, unless it's a reference, okay? Even if they change things around, even if they turn their lives around, because it makes no difference. That's what Buries means to me. It means that you as a performer have sunk so low to where you cannot get redeemed, okay? And the last one was Tammy Lynn Sitch, who, in my opinion, is a murderer, okay? Like, straight up. She's a murderer. Is Phil Brooks, is CM Punk on that level? No. Did he stoop that low? Absolutely not, because he claims that he's straight edge, even though he's more addicted to his emotions than anything else. And if he's so straight edge, if he's so drug free, then how come he keeps getting injured? What, does he not know how to train and stuff? Does he not know how to prepare his body for the matches that he knows he's going to be in, to where he doesn't break every time he goes into a match? You tell me, everybody. And so, yeah. And so, after that long intro, sorry about that, I want to go through the moment that I really started to actively not really care for Punk. I don't really say dislike, because for me to dislike somebody, you have to be in my life, a real part of my life, and you have to do me wrong. You know, like take some money from me or whatever. Then you're on my bad side. I was just waving to my mom. But when it comes to, performers in wrestling or music and stuff like that, you can definitely get to a point where I really don't care about your presence anymore. And for me, that happened when Brooks decided to go into mixed martial arts fighting. Now, the reason that got to me was because here was a guy who was over 35 years old, and he wanted to just start out in the sport of mixed martial arts. There's this one kid who I went to high school with who was obsessed with mixed martial arts, okay? You might know who he is if you've watched any Bellator. His name is Ben Saunders, okay? He's known as Killer B. So, we would play football, and we would play, me and him and his buddies and our buddies. We would all play football, and he would always show off whatever stuff he learned, whatever MMA he learned in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's when we were in high school. And so he spent most of his 20s trying to get his name in and trying to get into bigger circuits than just the local shit. And I think he was on The Ultimate Fighter in 2007 or 2008. Or 09. One of those. It was the late 2000s. And so I think he started doing matches in Bellator at, I believe, in his late 20s, early 30s. So, and now here comes Phil Brooks saying, "Oh, I've done professional wrestling. That's probably the same, right?" What happens? He gets paid way more, probably, than my buddy does. Okay? Way more than Ben Saunders ever, than any kind of money that he would ever see, to lose decisively as a tomato can 2 matches before retiring from mixed martial arts and then trying to get back into wrestling. Okay, so even 8 years ago, whenever he even 6 years ago, when Brooks decided that he wanted to do mixed martial arts, I didn't care for him then. Okay. Oh, he didn't use his real name either. He used CM Punk, like his actual fighting name. He didn't go by Phil CM Punk Brooks, like my buddy Ben would go by Ben Killer B Saunders. So he pissed on the mixed martial arts industry, and sweet talked Dana White into getting him into a few UFC matches where he was a friggin' tomato can going up against other tomato cans, so he lost to 2 tomato cans in a row. So that sat bad with me. And then he wants to go back to WWE. But he doesn't want to perform, he just wants to do like some backstage stuff. So he goes on a show called WWE Backstage. WWE Backstage, I think it started and ended in 2019. And when I saw him on WWE Backstage, when I saw Punk on there, I was like, okay, this is okay. This is a good role for him. He can kind of give pointers to other performers on how they should talk and stuff like that, because I'm not going to sit here and say that Punk was never a good talker. He was an amazing talker. He's a good talker, an okay worker, a little like an average worker. Okay, came up with really cool stuff like Straight Edge Society. I liked the new Nexus. I liked Nexus 2.0 was kind of but it had some momentum too. And then the stuff he did in 2011. Looking back, it was all right, I suppose. It was kind of underwhelming in my opinion. Even back then, even a decade ago, I was like, whatever. But that doesn't mean that you get to act like you're Hulk Hogan. Okay, I said in a clip of the media scrum, because AEW's one, like their sound department is god awful because they have everything lower dub. It's so like the dubbing is so bad. Like on AEW's channel, like Brooks, like he talks like it's really slowed down, and it's really I don't understand it. But anyways, so then after his little stint with WWE Backstage, now Brooks wants to go back to an active roster. He doesn't want to do it with WWE. He wants to go to AEW because he saw what AEW was doing. He wanted to actually come back a year before. He actually came back last year, so he wanted to come back in the summer of 2020. But C19 was still a thing back then, and they didn't want full crowds, and he wanted to come back to a full crowd, not the 15 to not the 15% capacity at Daly's Place like what AEW was doing. And I miss those shows, by the way. But whatever. And so he comes back. He works with Darby Allin, and Darby Allin puts him over. Okay, that's fine. Works with Eddie Kingston, and the program he did with Eddie Kingston, I mean, wow, like how pathetic was that? Because Kingston was saying stuff that fans are saying now. And I was saying the same thing that Eddie Kingston was saying. It's like, these guys don't really care about you being here. They didn't care about him being there at all. They really didn't. Here's a guy who I guess a year ago who was in his early to mid 40s, has documented attitude problems, takes himself way too seriously. Yeah, he wants to work with younger talent, but is he going to put younger talent? You tell me, did he put over Darby Allin? Oh, it was a good idea to have Punk win because you don't want him to start off on a loss. Bullshit. That is bullshit. That makes zero sense, especially to someone like Darby Allin he won me over, Darby Allin, because I really didn't care for him until he had matches against MJF and stuff like that, and I liked it. You know what I mean? Oh, and speaking of MJF, okay, so Punk worked with MJF, right? They had a fantastic program, a fantastic feud. It brought out the best in both guys. And then what? And then Punk wants to go for the AEW title at 44 years old. being really injury prone. What, a day after he won the title, he injured his foot by jumping into the crowd after winning it. And that caused an injury for him. Really? Really? And you want to represent the company? And then he goes and says this, and then he goes and then after he wins it for the second time, because he had to take the time off, he was still champion. Then the AEW did the interim champion, which is really a dumb idea. And then he jobs to Moxley in like 3 minutes, and I think that is what set him off. Okay, I think that's what set him off. And yeah, that's right, because he won the title against Adam Page, and Hangman kind of was like, "Yo, I gotta protect AEW from you." Again, accurate statement, because I can tell. So individuals like so wrestling performers like CM Punk are what I call activist wrestlers. Okay, these are guys who they want to change the culture of any given wrestling organization or even the industry itself, but they want to be the center of it. They want to be the ones who take all the credit. Okay, that's going to be like that. I'm going to do very shortly. I'm going to do j0elsuf Buries on Sasha Banks, on Mercedes Varnado, because she's the same way. Okay, when she walked out with Naomi with the ladies tag team titles, and just walked out in May of this year, I'm like, okay, then you can't be trusted, and you're not respecting this industry and this business, and you're extremely immature for doing that. Okay, it's one thing if you're super young, or if the actions of another performer created a very unsafe working environment for you, like if let's say I'm in a match and someone like someone like Nia Jax, who I'm also gonna do a Buries on, and let's say I'm doing a match with like Nia Jax, and she potatoes me with a steel chair, and I get a concussion, I can walk out from that, because that's an unsafe working environment, and I don't want to be involved in that for my own health. Okay, it's way different than what we're seeing with Punk, and in the future I'm going to talk about that. And what Sasha Banks did is different as well. Okay. So let me wrap this up here. Here are my last words on this man. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm firing this man immediately. I'm firing him immediately. Because you don't need him. You don't need him. Here's Jericho. Here's Chris Jericho, a guy who is 8 years older than Punk, who works twice as many matches as Punk, and who gets hurt like a quarter of the time. Okay? They have a guy, they've Sting, who is 60 years old. At least. He's like 62. He could still work matches, and he can still lead the younger guys. Where does Punk fit into all of this? You tell me. Because I don't have an answer. I didn't have an answer when I saw him last year. I thought it was a cool moment. Okay, let's have him have some cool matches. Okay, and then let's have him just retire. And he should have never gotten close to that AEW title. No. Unless it was transitional. Let's have him keep it for 1 month just for a feel-good moment, and then have someone pry it off of him. Okay, that essentially is what happened when he won the title the first time against Adam Page, who, guess what? And I'm not a real big fan of Hangman Adam Page, okay? I think he's kind of bland. I think it's kind of the weird cowboy gimmick is kind of weird and stupid. Lesnar does it way better. He can work a decent match for sure, that's fine. But other than that, I mean, it's not, he wasn't anything to write home about. He should have never had the AEW title. He wasn't larger than life enough to have it. But for But for Phil Brooks to go out and say what he said, and to do what he did, and what I have in the picture, that's him interrupting, very rudely interrupting Tony Khan when Tony Khan was about to explain some things. That's not becoming of a 44-year-old veteran. That's something that you would expect from someone who's 24, who has only been in the business about a year, who thinks he's hot shit. Someone like MJF could probably would do that, and I would be like, cut the kid a break. You know what I mean? Maybe, unless he's causing trouble for everyone else. But for someone like that to do that, and for him to treat those individuals like that, and to be so thankless about it, and to act so bitter when he just won the title, that to me is unacceptable. And yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna completely let the Bucks and Kenny Omega off the hook. They should absolutely not be any administrative position in AEW. In the beginning, absolutely, because it was their ideas anyways, right? But after the organization got off the ground, they should have either stepped down from their EVP positions and just went on the active roster, or retire and then do or retire or not perform at all unless you want to be like managers or something, and then be the administration EVPs. But so both parties are in the wrong here. But Brooks more than anybody, because he's the oldest, he has the most experience, and he wanted to prove the point more. And he didn't prove that point. He didn't prove that point in the media scrum. Nope. Instead, he acted exactly. Well, I won't say exactly. He acted very similar to how Hogan was acting in WCW about 25 years ago. Oh, that doesn't work for me, brother. Guess what? I could hear that man saying the exact kind of thing. Absolutely. So, there you go. So, this man is buried. Rip CM Punk's career. I hope he never sets foot in a wrestling ring again. And if he does, best believe he's going to get booed out of the building real fast by some real fans, because what he did was real stupid. And if that's how he's going to act, and just one last thing, if that's how he's going to act towards the public, I shudder to think how his wife, how April Mendez has to deal with him. Because if he's that, cranky and grumpy and whatever you want to call it, or very, very, just miserable and unpleasant, if he's like that towards the press and towards strangers and stuff, I hope he treats his wife way better, or if he has kids, God forbid, I don't know, man. It sucks. And I don't like saying this to anybody about anybody. I'm a good person. I don't like going on here and shitting on these performers, these wrestling performers who don't take their craft seriously enough to where they want to be a leader. They just want to have everything. You know what I mean? Yeah, it sucks. So, anyways, there you have it. This man is buried. I'm not going to mention him ever again in any kind of wrestling-related videos, because he's not worth mentioning. Pretty much dead to me. Alright. Anyways, that was it. That's fun. Good stuff. If any of you watch me for my bowling content, I'm going to be coming out with a 3-part, a big presentation on handicap and averages in bowling. I've been working on it for the last 2 or so weeks, last month or so actually, scripting everything and getting all the numbers right and everything. So be on the lookout for that. All right, I'm out of here, everybody. Take care.